Well, hello and welcome to the Arts, AV, Technology, Communications, and Marketing. This is the Career Choice Virtual Panel discussion. Today, you will be hearing from professionals in the field and have an opportunity to ask them questions. We hope these discussions will give you insight into the field and help you make informed choices about the careers you are thinking about pursuing and the pathways you should consider to get there. Before we begin, there are a few webinar tips to share. Number one, to interact with the panelists and moderators, submit a question through the Q&A feature found in the controls at the bottom of your screen. You can submit a question anonymously if you would like, but if you include your name in the submission, we'll give you a shout out before your question. Number two, you cannot interact with other attendees during the webinar. The chat feature has been disabled and only our staff members can view your questions submitted through the Q&A. Number three, students participating in the full panel discussion today will be entered into a $50 Visa gift card drawing. If you were participating as a whole class, don't worry, we'll be reaching out to your teacher for a list of student names. If you need technical assistance, you can call the help desk at 434-766-6772. And now, without any further delay, I would like to turn things over to the discussion's moderator, Dana Wilson.
Thank you, Tammy. Hi, everyone. We're so excited that you joined us for this very last session on day one of our Career Choice Expo. Today, you are joining in with the Arts, AV, Technology, Communications, and Marketing Career Choice panel. My name is Dana Wilson. I am the Work-Based Learning Program Coordinator at the Institute for Advanced Learning and Research. And our panelists we have today, we have Matt Doss from Smokestack Theatre Co, Hope Harris-Gayles from Southern Virginia Higher Education Center, and Beth Deatherage from Momenta. And we'll have each one of them introduce themselves and their organization, tell us a little bit about what you do, and we'll go from there and start asking some questions. So let's get started with Matt.
Hi, everyone. My name is Matt Doss. I am the improv director for Smokestack Theatre Company. We're a nonprofit theater located here in Danville, but we serve Danville, Pittsylvania County, all the surrounding areas. And our mission statement, it's a couple of sentences long, but to simplify it, we are theater for all. We are theater that is dedicated to the cultural enrichment of the entire community. That is what we do by educating and outreaching to adults and children and ways for creative expression and to inspire other generations of theater artists.
Thanks, Matt. Hope, do you want to go next?
Sure. So I'm Hope Harris-Gayles. I am the Associate Director of Communications and Outreach at the Southern Virginia Higher Education Center. We're located in Halifax County, right in downtown South Boston. So my role is basically handling everything marketing and communications related for the center. So what the center does, two big things. One, we're partnered with different colleges and universities to offer their programs here. So I help those colleges to let people know that they're here in our facility and that they have programs available. And then the Higher Ed Center itself, we provide hands-on workforce training like IT, welding, HVAC, these really short-term career-focused programs. And so then I worked to promote those things as well. And so specifically, anything that you might read about the Higher Ed Center, from our website to a newspaper article to our social media, I am in charge of doing that writing.
Thank you. And Beth?
I'm Beth Dothridge. I'm the CEO of Momenta. We're a full service marketing agency. We've been in business about 18 years and we have offices in Martinsville and Danville. And full service marketing covers a wide range of things from graphic design to website development, social media management, content development. Pretty much, if you can brand it, we will do it.
That's great. Well, thank you, everyone, and welcome. We're just going to follow that same pattern, Matt, Hope, Beth. And my first question for you right now is, can you tell us a little bit about how you got to where you are, what maybe your education background is, or certifications, just how you got where you are?
I started pretty early on I've always enjoyed theater, and I've always enjoyed improv. It just, as my parents would tell the story, I've always enjoyed being the center of attention. So when I got into high school, I had an English teacher, Mr. Bill Bush. I went to Bartlett Yancey High School, and he was basically telling me there's a way that you can be constructive and not be so disruptive with your, attention seeking or whatever it is, what kind of energy you have. So he kind of geared me toward a show that came to Caswell County, a play that I auditioned for and got into it, got, as they say, bit by the theater bug, and then went to Averett University, got my theater degree there, moved to Richmond and worked with Theater 4 and Barksdale Theater out of there. And just, it's one of those things, once you get into it, it's hard to get out of, because it's anytime you're doing something that you're passionate about, if it's your job, you'll never work a day in your life. And that's very fair for me to say about Smokestack Theater. And so I did a lot of that, then moved back home, and a couple years ago met up with a couple of people through Danville Little Theater, and they were thinking about starting their own theater organization, and I jumped in with them and brought my skill set, and I was like, we can do improv shows, we can do sketch comedy, anything like that. And now we're getting ready to plan another comedy show or improv show. It's been about a little over a year since the last one we had. So we're kind of gearing up for that, and hopefully be able to start doing some things this summer. It's been awesome to watch when we do readings on the lawn or some children's theater things. It's watching these people who say that they would, I'm not good at improv, I'm not good at theater. Well, you don't know until you try it. And a lot of people get bit by that same bug, and they realize, oh, there's a lot more to this than just seeking attention. It's about learning how to speak in public, and how to handle any kind of a relationship as far as work or personal, anything like that. All of those skills can come from theater and improv.
So for me, I took sort of a windy path to get where I am. In high school, I remember I took a creative writing class. I always enjoyed writing, but I never thought of it as a career. So I took creative writing, and of course in 11th grade, I took college composition. And so that really helped me become a better writer. I went to college because that's what I was supposed to do, but I didn't have any career guidance. So I ended up majoring in history and didn't know what I would do with that. I just knew I enjoyed the subject. So, I do end up using those skills from majoring in history. We read a lot. I wrote a lot of papers, had to analyze documents, think critically. So I used all of those skills every day, but it was really, it wasn't focused on a career. So after college, I went back home and lived with my parents. I'm from Charlotte County, by the way. And I had a couple jobs. I ended up teaching for a few years, and finally, eventually found my way to working at the Southern Virginia Higher Education Center. But it was really sort of accidental. And that's why I really love the career choice and events like this, because, you guys get an opportunity to hear about careers and hopefully have a more focused career path and not just kind of stumble into something.
My turn. All right, I would say that my story is closer to Hope's, in the sense that it wasn't automatic for me. When I was in high school, I was pretty sure I was going to be president. And so I went to college and majored in political science. I was very passionate about it and had very strong opinions. But I learned fairly quickly that I did not have the stomach for politics, but I had committed too far in college. So if you decide not to become a lobbyist or go into politics or go to law school, a political science degree is fairly useless. But what it did teach me was to craft a good argument. And ultimately, that's what marketing is finding the argument, the focus, the spin, the thing that makes something good, and shouting it out loud. So it was sort of an organic transition. And so I went to grad school and got an MBA with a focus in marketing to kind of give me some actual background knowledge. And then I started doing this 12 years ago.
It's really interesting. You all have such unique backgrounds that have led you to where you're at. I'm curious, now that you're here, what has been your proudest achievement along the way? And that could be something, you know, you feel might be personal or something that is work related. I am thinking mostly about your current roles, but, you know, whatever you got, what has made you very proud to be in your field?
It's a fulfilling thing to watch people, like I was saying earlier, about people say I'm not good at theater. I don't know. I've never really gotten into it. Last year, we started doing little readings on the lawn. We were socially distanced. Everybody was on a lawn, and it's a different way of doing theater. We would sit down and read a script from a show or something like that. And there was this young girl, 12 years old. I knew her parents, and they were saying, you know, she's wanting to get into theater, but she doesn't know if she'd be interested in it. She used to be to dance, and now she wants to do something different. So I told her, you know, bring her out and maybe she could get into it. And watching her from that moment through now and the different things that she's done as far as productions or helped out with the theater, it's just watching. She's never read a script before, but watching her just become that character, and how much she's grown just in like 8 or 9 months. And it's like, man, I spent a lot of money and a lot of time doing what you're doing pretty easily, you know. But it's amazing to watch a younger generation get a fulfillment from that.
Gosh, I think what I really love getting to tell the stories of the cool things that happen here at the Higher Ed Center. So whether that's a new program or you know, someone who has literally changed their life because they came here and they, you know, got some skills, and then they were able to find a job that not only, you know, gave them a paycheck, but that they fell in love with this, you know, IT or welding or whatever it is. And then they're able to provide for their family. And all of a sudden, their whole life has changed. And so I just love getting to tell those stories and meet those people. It's a really cool thing. And then I think just a personal proud moment is because I didn't have a direct career path to what I'm doing. I think sometimes, you know, kind of have like doubts in the back of my mind. But 2 years ago, I went to this training and that was really top notch, but everything that they were saying really just supported and backed up what I was already doing. And it just felt really good. Like, yeah, I've got this. I know what I'm doing. So, you know, that's been cool.
I think the thing I'm most proud of is when I was hired 12 years ago, we were actually called HD Web Studio. Some of you might remember that name. And we were almost exclusively a website development company. We specialized in designing custom websites. But I'm not a website developer or, you know, a techie. And I brought the marketing aspect to the business. And over the past 12 years now, we can confidently say that we are a full service agency and lots of people utilize us for all of our services. So I think I'm most proud of that.
Sounds like growth. I mean, what I heard from Matt was you love seeing the growth in your students and in the people that you work with. Hope, you saw growth in yourself and confidence building. Beth, you saw growth in your company and in the business and changing with the times. So I think that's a really valuable takeaway just in this moment that, you know, you always have to be open to growth because that's what brings you to the next step. So with that in mind, I'm curious. I know, Matt, you had mentioned that you got started with a particular play and that kind of got a bug in you. I was wondering if you could tell us a little bit about that experience and then also maybe your improv experience and how you can get people out of their shells to do things like that.
Absolutely. So the play was called The Me Nobody Knows. It was a musical based off of a bunch of youth that lived in New York in the 80s, and they kind of lived on Skid Row. Some of them were homeless, and it was an essay project for school where they all had to write different essays, and someone compiled all these essays and made a musical about their lives. And the fun thing was Jackie Finney, who is the one of the professors of the theater department at Avery University, he designed the set for that show. So I had met him 3 years before I even knew that I was going to be one of his students, but also like be a theater. So it's fun how life kind of just goes in circles. And as far as improv, man, I was doing that, always kind of just being the witty kind of make a joke about things person, and always like, little sketches and things like Saturday Night Live and Upright Citizens Brigade, Improv Olympics, all of that improv. Growing up, I'd watch all those groups. And then I worked with a group in Richmond called Comedy Sports, which is they still have a group there, and it's a nationwide, actually worldwide organization that does different improv games centered around kind of like a sports theme where there are two teams versus each other. And that really got me into it. And I started taking classes, started doing an improv group with another group of friends, and we would have shows for that. And then when I moved back here, I took all of the experience that I had to do the improv for Smokestack. And in the classes that we've been trying to do, we were going to start gearing up and doing some classes, but COVID kind of had some different plans. But the great thing about an improv class is you don't have to show up just to be like, hey, I want to be on stage. Hey, I want to make jokes, because it is way more than that. It is being able to think on your feet. So for instance, when someone goes to a job interview, 90% of that is improv, because you don't know what the person's going to ask you. You don't know what you should be. You just know that you have to be on your feet and you have to answer honestly, and you have to think before you talk, but you got to do it quick. When you meet someone new, a first date, which is pretty much an interview, any kind of personal, like I said, personal professional relationship. Even when we're right now, all of us who are sitting here talking, we kind of know some bullet points, but for the most part, we're having to improvise what we're saying and think on our feet. So it's more than just getting on stage and making people laugh. It is a valuable life skill.
That's a really cool perspective. I like that. And, you mentioned COVID, which of course we all have been suffering under COVID. But that got me thinking about Momenta and how your business has obviously grown so much and has changed, but now that you've had a pandemic, how has that affected your business, and how has technology changed what you're doing?
So I would say, unlike most businesses, the pandemic's been good for our business. Marketing is the piece of a business model that companies sacrifice when they don't feel like they need it. So if business is going well and they have lots of business, they don't constantly make an effort. They're like, oh, we don't need it. But the pandemic sort of pulled the rug out from everyone. And they were like, oh my gosh, the only way we have to reach people now is through these online funnels. So your website, your social media, and we've been neglecting them. And so it made people stop and say, we need to do better. And then it created an urgency as well. So I think it's been really good for us. Then technology-wise, it was very easy for us to switch to a remote format. We already had all the tools in place. We've had other remote employees over the year. And so currently my entire staff is still working remotely. And we still have both offices, but we reduced the size of one. And we're going to continue letting them work remote indefinitely because it works well for us and we have the tools in place. And then thirdly, I think with the new Zoom model and everybody being so much more comfortable on it, it does allow me to expand my geographic footprint, right? You've always been able to do web kind of from any area, but now people are fine with the meetings for marketing and strategy to be this way too. So unlike most, we've been very fortunate. The pandemic's, almost been a blessing for us, I would say.
That makes sense. It sounds like it. It sounds like that's the right avenue for this world that we're in right now. One of the questions that I was thinking about, Hope, when you were talking about how you kind of got reinvigorated and your choices were affirmed through a professional development opportunity. And I was curious about professional development in general. What types of things has your company either offered to you or you've taken advantage of that will help you either now or down the line? So
before COVID, I would go to workshops like the one I referenced that was at the University of Richmond, or I'd go to conferences. There's a group that focuses on college communicators, and so we would get together for conferences. But since COVID, I've looked more online, and a great tool or resource is LinkedIn Learning. And in the height of the pandemic, about a year ago, Microsoft partnered with LinkedIn Learning to make 10 of their really popular career tracks free. And so I've been pursuing training in the digital marketing career track, and that will lead to a certification, but that is very helpful. I mean, it covers Google ads and Facebook ads and search engine optimization and all these other things that I use some, but this has allowed me to get a deeper understanding. And so that's the other thing I would say, that if you're interested in something, because of the web, you're not limited to a conference or paying $1,000 to go, out of town. You can learn so much online.
Yeah, that's very true. LinkedIn Learning is a really great avenue. Matt and Beth, have either of you used LinkedIn Learning, or do you have another professional development site that you might use that students would be interested in looking into?
Oh, sorry. I need to probably take one of those classes to learn how to operate my phone. No, I was actually just hearing about that, and I was kind of taking all that information in. I really, that's a really great outlet right there.
So I haven't done LinkedIn Learning, but I do a lot of different online classes, and I do a lot of research. That's a huge part of my job. It's my job to stay on top of trends. And I also teach a lot of classes. And that is actually the best way to learn, because if I agree to teach a class every year about trends, then I'm forced to go out and learn the newest trends. Helps keep me on my toes so I don't get complacent and doing the same old thing over and over again. So there is a ton of research available to you on the web. I mean, the sky is the limit on what you can learn for free. There are paid versions as well, but there's a ton of free resources.
Yeah, another one I wanted to just mention is lynda.com, lynda.com. Some organizations give that as a free resource to their professionals so that they can go through some of that professional development. I'm curious if any of you have ever had any work-based learning opportunities, because that's my area. So work-based learning would be, internships or job shadowing. In your as you've been working your way to where you are now, have you taken advantage of any of those opportunities? I saw Hope nodding, so maybe Hope had.
No, I wish. But a couple summers ago, we had the opportunity to bring in some interns. And so there was a graphic designer. She was in her, I think, getting ready to start her senior year at JMU, but she worked with me for the summer. And, I saw it from her perspective, and that she was able to get some hands-on real world experience and dealing with, projects that we actually implemented, and needing her to design something that we were going to use in a week. So I think it really helped her to take it from theory to practice. So I'm all for work-based learning and internships.
And, sorry, go ahead, Beth.
Oh, I was just going to say, I haven't had the chance to utilize them, but we've also hosted a series of interns. And I think I'm most proud that Abigail was one of our interns, who's now the Director of Marketing Communications for VIR. So she came in as just a student graphic design intern. And I would say she's a success. And I would say it's all because of us, but it's not. But it's nice to be a part of the journey.
I was going to say, it's if there is, because there's always a million excuses not to do something, but you only need one excuse to do something, So if there's any students out there who are thinking, I don't know what I want to do as far as an internship, or how do I do any of that? The very first basic thing that you can do is, anyone in your life that does anything that interests you, ask questions and listen. Because pretty much that is what an internship is on a more professional level. But the younger that you start now, the younger you start asking, hey, how do you do that? Like my dad is 78 years, he just turned 78 years old. And there are still things that I'm learning from him that he, tells me every day. It's just things I may never have to know that information, but I still have that information. I have friends who are videographers. I have friends who are electricians. I have friends who are in all sorts of different occupations or professions. And it's always good just to listen to what they're talking about as far as what they do, because you never know, you may find something that you're like, oh wow, I never thought that might interest me. I might actually like to kind of do that. So always keep your ears open and never be afraid to ask questions.
Yeah, and I would also add, even if you do an internship and you might find you hate it, well, finding out what you don't want to do is just as important as finding out what you do want to do. So no experience is wasted.
It's like, what is the saying? There's no shame in failure. The shame is not getting back up and trying again.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, I just want to make sure everyone that's listening also knows that we will be taking student questions and asking that to our panel in about 5 minutes here. So I do have a couple more questions for all of you. I'm just going to leave this open, whoever has an answer. What is a perk or a benefit of working where you are that maybe people don't know about?
I have a question. Do you mean our geographic location or like our business place?
Either and both.
All right. Well, I would say a perk of what I do for a living where I work is I get to learn about everybody else's business. So like the little gossip in me just loves that. I feel like I'm always kind of in the know. It's my job to know what they're doing, their strategy, how companies work together, how and I think that's fun and exciting. And I'm not doing the same thing every single day, right? Every project is kind of new and different. So I would say that's a huge perk. And then location wise, it's cheap and we don't have to drive very far. So I think that's like my favorite perk.
I would say a perk of working here is kind of similar to Beth. Like I get to hear about all the other departments and what they're doing and help tell those stories, and it keeps every day really new and interesting and exciting. The other thing is with this position, like I can telework even before COVID. I'm able to work from wherever. So it's nice that I'm not bound to an office. And so this work is essential, but I'm not an essential worker in that I have to be in the office every day. And also just living in Southern Virginia, it's a benefit that it's small, but that you get to try different things. So there's more opportunities for growth and exploration. And as an example, we had a group, the Career Tech Academy, our program here, that needed some videos made. Typically, we would outsource that, but because of budgets and a whole lot of other things, they asked me to take that project on. So I got to explore and learn and build some skills that if I were at a huge university, if I were at Virginia Tech, I would never get to do that. There's a dedicated department for that. So, being in smaller areas gives you more opportunities.
Yeah, that's like Hope said, it's a small town, but it's very diverse, and it's gotten more and more diverse as the years go, especially like the whole area. Like the South Side Virginia compared to 20 years ago, just seeing how much opportunity. And sometimes people will say, well, there's not that much to do here, but there is. You just have to look for it and you have to be open to it. But compared to the past 2 decades, there's so much opportunity. I think one of my favorite things is the theater. There's a local car dealership that we film commercials for. So it's always fun to get to have that outlet and basically play pretend or make believe, essentially. That's one of the greatest things when you're a kid, is going outside and just like swinging a stick around like it's a sword and you're slaying a dragon or something. So you get to, when you're an adult, you get to do that and you get paid to do that, which boggles my mind. But then I guess on the other side of that, you have, if you film a commercial that's parodying The Godfather, then you have someone randomly that you have no idea just come to you and say, hey, Godfather. And I still don't know how to react to people who do that. But it's essentially, you just get to play make believe. You get to have a creative outlet all the time.
That sounds like a lot of fun. I think even what Beth was saying about digging in on other people's business was a lot of fun too, just saying. So let's take a question from one of our students here, Amy Scott. She's asked, is there anything in your fields that you would recommend for a person who might be a little bit more timid or shy and not want as much person-to-person contact?
I mean, I can say that. So depending on where you are in the marketing firm, so, you know, it's my job to go out and talk to the clients and find out the strategy, but that is only my role. Everybody else has a graphic designer designs, and so they don't have to have very much interaction at all. If you're into the arts field, digital marketing, it's almost 100% behind your computer. Same for web development. You know, there's a person like me that's in between those services and the customer. So actually almost any other marketing job requires very little customer interaction. In fact, I try to protect my team from having to interact with the clients. So you can do anything for us.
Hope or Matt, did you have anything that you wanted to add about a student who might be a little more on the timid side?
Yeah, absolutely. In the theater, there's more than just being on stage. Like there are costumes, lights, sound, props, production needs, stage management. There are so many things that go on behind. And a lot of time, those are the jobs in the theater industry that are needed the most. Because it takes a lot of hard work, and you know, some people confuse the fame or the accolades with the success, and those people on stage wouldn't be successful if it weren't for the people that put in the work behind the scenes. So if you're not, I have a person who is in the theater who she is not a fan of being in front of people that much, but she does a lot of stage management, a lot of costumes, props. There's always something that you can do, even if you don't want to be the focal point of things.
Hope?
No, I think they covered it. You know, I'm not really an extrovert. I just kind of pretend to be one during the day, but really I'm not. But yeah, I work with other graphic designers, and you know, if you enjoy writing, you don't really have to be out in front. And speaking to Matt's point, like I'm always amazed at the end of a movie, the list of actors is maybe this long, but then it goes on for like pages and pages of all these people behind the scenes. So there are tons of jobs in this career field.
That's a really good point. That is a really good point. I do have a question that's kind of similar. So if you have an experience, please just speak up. Jakayla Davis has asked, did anyone ever get bullied because of what you were interested in? I think Matt was a class clown, so I doubt he was bullied.
Oh man, I mean, and that's one of those things. Like it's never gonna even. There's always going to be bullies, not just in school, but anywhere in life. And it can take on a multiple of degrees. Like it may not always be like in the movies or TV shows where it's a stereotypical bully. The main thing that comes down to it is people fear what they don't know. And it could be a number of things for the reason that people do bully. I found at an early age that comedy was my outlet, and making people laugh is a way to deflect bullies and things like that. But the main thing is it's truth in saying you can't you can't stoop down to that level, and you can't let the bully get the satisfaction of getting something out of you. If something makes you happy and it brings you joy, then don't let anybody change that. And as long as you're putting good out, good will come back in.
Great, thank you. Peyton Wigington asked a question specifically for Beth. Is it hard to be the owner of your own company, or of a company?
So I'm actually not the owner, but I am the face of the company. So we get that a lot. So no, it's not hard at all because I'm not, but I can speak. We are a small business, and it is hard to be an owner of a company because it ends with you. You're solely responsible for this team of people that you've taken on. And, if the money doesn't come in because you haven't had the business, or just because people are late paying it and your cash flow then you're responsible for it. And that comes out of your personal pocket. you know, 18 years in, we're in a good place, but it's a high risk. So yeah, it's hard, but it's also very rewarding, I believe, to be your own boss, but I am not, so.
You get a little cop out. That's great. So Willow has asked, what is your favorite project that you have done? And we'll just start with Matt, Hope, and then Beth.
Okay. So I did so there's a thing called Summer Stock, which is community theater. It's professional theater, but it's usually during the summer, usually working a contract from June to September. And they're all over the country. There's a bunch in North Carolina, Virginia. The Lost Colony in Manteo is one of the larger known ones. But I worked at one summer. We were supposed to do a musical. Something happened and the records got lost. They lost the entire script, music, and everything to this original musical that we were going to do. So we had to write a musical from the ground up in the span of like 2.5 weeks. And it ended up being this like, it's a show within a show behind the scenes, but we pulled from other shows. We wrote songs for it. I learned to juggle for it. It was an insane thing that it shows that when everybody like came together, kind of brought their own ideas, we did something really special and magical. And it was, at first it was very, everything's gone. Like, what do we do? And then 2 weeks later, we're like, oh, wow, we're putting this show up. So that's probably one of my favorite memories.
I think my favorite projects are always the video projects. We've done a few throughout the years, and it's always, it's a lot of work to sort of pull it all together. And we do usually contract with someone who will come in and do the recording, but at the end result is always so good. And it helps us to tell the story of who we are and what we do. So I think any of the video projects are always fun.
So my favorite projects are also my least favorite projects, and they're probably the trade show booths. We design extremely elaborate trade show booths for ourselves and for clients, and they're full concept booths. So like we'll have, one year we had a red carpet. That's probably my favorite, and we all dress up in ball gowns, and we did like man on the street interviews, like who are you wearing? And we had a photographer, and we had a step and repeat background with all of our client logos. And then we had we called it the premiere, and we had a new website up on the wall. That was a really fun one. And then we did one for the Workforce Investment Board that was like a racetrack, and we built out the booth. So there was like a stadium, and the carpet had a racetrack on it, and you played Mario Kart inside the booth. And you had different paths you could take towards success. And so it's so much fun coming up with those concepts and like the details, but the actual execution of that, I'm usually like, I don't want to sell this service next year, or, you know, I will be there from morning to night trying to finish it, where some people come in and just do it in 1 hour. So I always really like the planning, and then I don't always love the execution.
That's very honest. I appreciate that. Joshua White has asked, what are the salaries in your career field? So maybe you can just give a range based on what you know.
Anywhere from $0 to how much did Robert Downey Jr. make? Like 40 million. So, you know, it ranges, just kind of depending.
Oh gosh, yeah, it does range. And, you know, so, and it depends too on like where you work. So if you work for a business, what we call the private sector, that often pays more than if you work for what we call the public sector, which is like government or like higher education. But I would say the range, you know, for a full-time employee, maybe starting at 30,000 and going all the way up.
We're so small that I wouldn't be comfortable telling you what each position makes, but I can tell you that all of us make well above the median average income for our area, which I think is something to be celebrated. And of course, if you took any of our jobs and you put them into another area like Northern Virginia or Atlanta, you would make, you know, 2, 3, 4 times as much just based on the area. It is a huge range depending on if you're fresh out of, you know, college, or if you're self-taught. A lot of developers are self-taught, to like where you are in your position. So it's a significant range, but well above the median income. Let's say that.
That's a good way to answer that. Mikhail Williamson has asked, are there age requirements for your jobs or career fields? Or if you've had any interns, are there age requirements for your interns?
No, there's no age requirements. I mean, the younger that you are, you're probably going to need adult supervision. But we've got kids anywhere in the theater from 8 years old to high school seniors. We've got people in the theater that are in their 50s. A whole diverse range of people are involved in the Smokestack Theater.
I think that we technically don't employ people under the age of 18 for insurance purposes, but we have, and maybe we haven't hosted even an intern younger than 18. So I think that's probably the minimum.
Yeah, I think the same for us. You probably have to be at least 18 just for insurance and liability type things. But as a career, as a field, no, there's no age requirement.
And from what we've heard earlier, it looks like there are varying ways of getting to where you're at. Some require college, some do not require college. So I'm just responding to a student question about if your position requires college. Let's see, we have another one here from Mikhail Williamson asking Matt specifically, what's at least one of your favorite shows that you have done? Matt may have frozen. Yeah, I think he might have froze. So let's go on to the next one and I'll come back to that. And let's look at, oh, there you are. You're back. Matt, do you want to answer? Did you hear the question?
Yeah, I heard everything, and I'm yelling. And can you hear me?
We couldn't.
Oh, sorry about that. No, so my favorite thing I've ever done would have to be when I went to Avery University. We did a show called The Complete Works of William Shakespeare Abridged, and it is a 2-hour play of all of Shakespeare's works. It's a very funny play, and it helped me a lot. I was having trouble with my Shakespeare as a theater student. In most colleges, you have to take a Shakespeare course, which is usually a 400 level course, which is a very difficult, intensive course. And I was having trouble with it the minute I did that play. And for some reason, when you turn it into a comedy and you make fun, like if you can make Hamlet funny, then I'm pretty impressed with your work. So these guys, they do all different plays, but Complete Works helped me pass Shakespeare eventually. And it was just a load of fun, and it helped me learn about Shakespeare. Just in general, learn about the characters and the motivations behind certain, like, you think this character is evil. Well, hold on, he has certain motivations that maybe you kind of find that a little more relatable.
That is really great. So we do need to start wrapping up here on a really quick basis. If you have something off the top of your head, do you have any favorite quotes or pieces of advice for our students that are listening? And then we will wrap it up.
I'll stick to the whole Shakespeare thing. All the world's a stage and all the men and women are merely players.
I would just say it's, been repeated a lot, but if you can find a career that you enjoy, it makes it so much easier to get up on Monday morning and go to work. I've had jobs that I hated, and that Sunday night dread in the pit of your stomach, you don't want that. So if you can find something that you enjoy or you love to do, that's it. That's everything.
I totally agree with that, because I've also had a job that I hated, did not want to go to work, dreaded it the second I got off returning. But I would say that every situation has the potential to be positive. They call me the queen of spin because I feel like I can spin anything into a positive. If there's always an angle. So when you get frustrated or you're down or something doesn't work out, there's a way that it's an opportunity. I really believe that.
I love that. Well, thank you all very, very much for all of the great advice and all the background information you've given us about how you've gotten to where you are. And thank you to the students and the instructors and all the schools that are participating. And I hope you all have a really great rest of the day and can join us on our next Career Expo day. I'm going to hand this over to Tammy to close us out.
All right, thank you, Dana, and thank you to all of our panelists for sharing your knowledge and experience with us today. For our student attendees, we hope you are energized and excited to research opportunities in the arts, AV technology, and communications and marketing career clusters. The Career Choice website is a great place to start. We will be drawing the gift card recipient name in the coming week, and after we have had a chance to follow up with your teacher or your whole class registrations, these gift card recipients will be contacted through their schools. You can provide yourself with another opportunity to win a $50 gift card by completing the Career Choice Scavenger Hunt found on the Career Choice website right now, as well as the Career Choice Survey coming on March 22nd. Each student completing both activities will be entered into a drawing for their school. Good luck, and we hope you will continue to take opportunities to imagine your potential, connect with employers, and explore your career possibilities. Thank you.